The fifth ball six of Virat, of Haris Rauf, would it be an exaggeration for me to call it, as I am, the shot of the century, or certainly one of the shots of the century?
Yeah, one of the shots of the century for sure, because we haven't seen other shots. It's difficult to call anything the shot of the century, but definitely one of the greatest shots in the game. Because whatever format it is, to hit a quick bowler bowling at 145k plus straight back over his head to the straight boundary, slightly longonish sixer, is an amazing shot.
The reason I called it, Mr. Gavaskar, that was because the Aussies famously called Shane Warne bowling Mike Gadding round his legs in 1992 as the ball of the century. So we Indians surely have the right to call it then the shot of the century.
Of course. Yeah, we can, because everything, every match of the century, every other thing is always between England and Australia. So we should call ours the shot of the century. Definitely, no problem at all. But what I said earlier on was because we haven't really seen T20 cricket for such a long time and other matches. So while we generally are on the correct side of things, we don't generally exaggerate. But in this case, go ahead, let's exaggerate. Call it the shot of the century.
Okay, so, but just for our viewers, and here I come to you as a master technician, to hit a shot of that slightly on the back foot, but with almost a straight bat, over a bowler's head, at a ground like Melbourne, what does that take, especially given the context of the game, the quality of the bowling? What does it take to hit a shot like that almost with a straight bat?
Well, it takes skill, it takes enormous self-confidence and self-belief, and it takes an assessment of the situation. The clarity of the mind, realizing that these last two balls were very important to make the last over target that much less. Because remember, of the first four deliveries from Haris Rauf, only 3 runs had come. So if you didn't score 6 and 6 of the next two deliveries, the target would have been 22, 25. And so that was the important thing. So that clarity to try and get maximize of both these deliveries was fantastic.
My sense, in a way, is, as you mentioned, not just skill, but also the power. Someone with the power of a Viv Richards could have played a shot like that. Would you agree that it also shows how much power Virat Kohli actually possesses because he's kept himself so fit in the game?
Look, I think the bats are different now. Look, you got to face it. I've seen Viv Richards, Clive Lloyd, Gordon Greenwich being caught on the boundary in Sharjah. On the boundary, and now we have modern players hitting the ball into the streets of Sharjah. So it's not that anything else has changed excepting the bats. Yes, I know the guys do a lot more gym training and therefore are a lot stronger, but it's the bats that make the difference. So if Viv Richards had these kind of bats, he would have been hitting every ball, into the highest tier of every ground. And Clive Lloyd as well.
That's a great point you make, that the bats make a huge difference, but just to have you ever seen, though, a better white ball T20 innings than what Virat played at Melbourne over the weekend?
I think the one in Mohali where he got an 80 was very special too. Again, I think it was not just the quality of strokes that he played then, but also because of the running between the wickets with Mahendra Singh Dhoni. That was outstanding. And even here on Sunday, the running between the wickets with him and Hardik Pandya, and then even when he was at the non-strikers end running for his partner, that was truly terrific to see.
A few months ago, Mr. Gavaskar, you'll recall critics were writing off Virat Kohli. Has he shown with this one innings that he's still arguably the finest white ball player, the finest chaser that India has ever produced?
Well, I think let's not get carried away. Sachin Tendulkar has played some amazing innings for India in white ball cricket. Let's not forget that. There's been that 175 that Kapil Dev has hit in trying circumstances in Zimbabwe, against Zimbabwe. So yes, there are plenty of things, and we tend to sort of forget the past pretty quickly. Let's just be happy with the innings that we saw, because we all at the ground and the millions who watched it on television were blessed and fortunate to have seen such an extraordinary innings.
You mentioned all these greats, and yes, comparing greats is never easy. But what sets Virat apart from batsmen of this generation for you?
The ability to score runs in any kind of situation, the ability to score runs in any kind of situation, the ability to assess situations and adjust his game accordingly.
Mr. Gavaskar, I'll tell you what is my other big memory of that day. You jumping like a child with your hands after that victory. You looked exuberant at that moment when that shot was played. I want to ask you, what is it going to take now for India to go all the way in the tournament? We've beaten Pakistan, but we still have to win the cup. What will it take?
I think India will have to bowl well, more importantly, because the batting now is coming into its own. We saw Hardik Pandya batting well. That partnership between him and Virat Kohli set the tone. It was actually Pandya who set the tone with those sixes against Mohammad Nawaz, and that seemed to fire Virat Kohli up as well. So the batting seems to be all right. Yes, I think there's just a little bit of concern about Rohit Sharma because he hasn't quite been getting the big runs that we know he's capable of. It's the bowling that we'll have to just be a little careful because it's the 19th and the 20th over. Whether we are bowling first or whether we are defending, that is going to be the key. And I do believe that is just a little bit of a concern.
But either way, Mr. Gavaskar, as I said, it's 3 days since that great win. The glow still remains. Thanks very much for joining us. As always, pleasure having you. Shot of the century. Please put it in all your headlines. Let's build Virat as a shot of the century. The Aussies could do it with one. Why not with Virat?